Severe weather warnings across eastern New South Wales and southeast Queensland. Heavy rainfall, damaging wind gusts, flash flooding possible in low-lying areas. That's the situation we were dealing with for Sunday, January 18th, 2026. I've examined the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, analysed the synoptic charts and compared the major forecast models. What we are seeing is a low-pressure system that's positioned itself right over the eastern seaboard. S not moving quickly. That S the problem. When these systems stall, that S when you get persistent heavy rain and the potential for significant impacts. Right now, conditions across Australia are about as varied as you can get. And it is worth understanding where we're restarting from before we get into what is coming tomorrow. Up in Darwin and across the top end, it's typical build-up season weather. 35 degrees with high humidity, afternoon storms building. That's normal for this time of year. Uncomfortable, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary for January in the tropics. Brisbane has been warm and humid all week. Temperatures in the low 30s with that sticky, oppressive air that makes it hard to sleep at night. That moisture-laden air mass has been parked over southeast Queensland for days. Tomorrow, that moisture gets tapped by the low-pressure system, and that S when the showers intensify. Sydney S been mild by comparison, low to mid-20s, but that changes dramatically tomorrow when the low really gets going overhead. Melbourne S had a cracker of a week, mostly sunny, temperatures in the mid to high 20s, classic Melbourne summer weather when it behaves itself. Tomorrow continues that run of good form. Adelaide S been hot, 32 to 35 degrees for most of the week. Dry heat coming off the interior. Tomorrow ramps up even further with temperatures pushing towards 37 degrees in some suburbs. Perth has been doing what Perth does best. Sunshine, blue skies, mid-20s, textbook summer weather on the west coast. Tasmania's been the coolest. Hobart has been sitting around 16 to 20 degrees. Pleasant enough, but you can feel that southern latitude. There's still a bit of a chill in the morning air. Now, that's the baseline. That is where we are right now. Tomorrow, that pattern shifts significantly for the eastern states. Let me start with the meteorology, then we'll break it down by region, then we'll get into what you need to do about it. The synoptic chart for tomorrow shows a well-defined low-pressure centre positioned just off the New South Wales coast, roughly parallel with Sydney. The central pressure is forecast to be around 998 hectopascals. That S reasonably deep for this time of year in this location. What's feeding this system is a moisture fetch all the way from the Coral Sea. You can see it clearly on the satellite imagery. That conveyor belt of tropical moisture is being drawn south and west, wrapping around the low. When you get that kind of setup, you're re-looking at widespread rainfall with embedded areas of heavier falls. The Bureau of Meteorology has the low moving very slowly south-southeast through Sunday and into Monday morning. Very slowly is the key phrase there. Fast-moving systems give you rain, but they move through. Slow-moving systems give you prolonged heavy rain. That S when catchments fill up. That S when rivers respond. That S when you get flash flooding in urban areas with poor drainage. IV looked at the access model, the GFS and the European model. All three are in broad agreement on the position and movement of this low. That gives me confidence in the forecast. When models disagree, that S, when you need to be cautious about details. When they agree, you can be reasonably certain about the general pattern. Where they differ slightly is on the rainfall totals. The access model is showing 50 to 80 millimetres across the Sydney Basin and adjacent coastal areas. The European model is a bit more aggressive, showing potential for 100 millimetres in some locations, particularly where you get thunderstorm activity on top of the general rain. The GFS is somewhere in the middle. Given that range, I just say plan for 50 to 80 millimetres as a baseline, but be aware that localised areas could see significantly more if thunderstorms develop over the same locations repeatedly. That S called training, when storms follow the same path. It S how you get flash flooding even when the broader rainfall totals Don-T look extreme. Wind is another factor. The isobars around this low are tight, particularly on the southern and western flanks. That means pressure gradient is strong, which means wind. We're re-looking at sustained winds of 40 to 50 kilometres per hour with gusts to 80 kilometres per hour, possibly higher on exposed coastal headlands and elevated areas. 80 kilometres per hour is enough to bring down tree branches, especially if the ground is saturated and root systems are compromised. It says enough to make driving difficult, particularly for high-sided vehicles. Yes, enough to create rough seas and dangerous conditions for small craft. The marine wind warning is in place from Byron Bay down to the Victorian border. If you're replanning to go boating or fishing tomorrow, Don T, seriously, the swell is forecast at 3 to 4 metres, possibly 5 metres offshore. Combined with strong winds, that treacherous conditions, even for experienced boaters. All right, let's break this down by state and region because the impacts vary significantly depending on where you are. New South Wales is copping the worst of it. The low pressure system is centred just offshore, which means you on the business end of this setup. Sydney and the surrounding metro area are looking at heavy rain from early morning through to late afternoon. The rain will be persistent. It won't be constant bucketing down every minute, but there will be no real break. Showers, periods of heavier rain, embedded thunderstorms, rainfall totals for the day between 60 and 100 millimetres depending on location. Temperatures will be much cooler than you've been used to. Expect maximums around 19 to 22 degrees. That fresh for mid-January. The cloud cover and the onshore flow are keeping things cool. You might actually need a jumper if you are out and about for any length of time. The western suburbs might see slightly less rain than the eastern suburbs and coastal areas, but not by much. This system is broad enough that everyone across the basin is getting wet. Flash flooding is a real concern for areas with poor drainage. If you in a low-lying area, particularly near creeks or stormwater channels, keep an eye on water levels. Don T drive through floodwater. You know the saying. If it's flooded, forget it. That's not just a catchy slogan. People die every year driving into floodwater thinking they can make it through. The roads are going to be slippery. Wet roads in Sydney always cause chaos. Allow extra time for your commute if you are heading out. Keep your lights on. Increase your following distance. Be patient. If you are planning outdoor activities, reschedule. This is not the day for the beach or the park. This is a day for indoor activities. Museums, shopping centres, catching up on jobs around the house that you've been putting off. North of Sydney, the Central Coast and the Hunter are in for similar conditions. Heavy rain, strong winds, cool temperatures. Newcastle could see 70 to 90 millimetres. The Upper Hunter and the Ranges could see even more as that moisture gets lifted over the terrain. South of Sydney, the Illawarra is looking at the same setup. Wollongong will be wet and windy. The escarpment could see rainfall totals exceeding 100 millimetres, particularly if storms keep forming in the same areas. Inland areas, the Blue Mountains, the southern tablelands, you're still getting rain, but not quite as heavy. Expect 30 to 50 millimetres, still enough to make conditions unpleasant, but not the deluge the coast is seeing. The far north coast around Byron Bay and up towards the Queensland border is on the northern fringe of this system. You will see showers and possible storms, but the heaviest rain stays further south. Queensland, you're in a transition zone. Southeast Queensland is getting affected by the moisture being drawn into this low pressure system, but you are not under the centre of it like Sydney is. Brisbane is looking at scattered showers throughout the day. It won't be constant rain like Sydney. You'll get periods of showers, then it might ease off, then more showers move through. The chance of a thunderstorm is high, particularly during the afternoon when heating combines with all that available moisture. Rainfall totals for Brisbane between 20 and 40 millimetres. If you get caught under a thunderstorm, you could see that amount in an hour, then the rest of the day might be relatively light. Temperatures will be warmer than Sydney, 22 to 30 degrees, but the humidity will be oppressive. That combination of warmth and moisture makes it feel uncomfortable even when it's not particularly hot. You'll be sweating just standing still. The Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast are looking at similar conditions. Showers, possible storms, high humidity. The surf is going to be big and messy. Swell from the east to southeast, 3 to 4 metres. The beaches will be patrolled, but conditions will be challenging. If you're going in the water, swim between the flags and follow the lifeguards' instructions. Inland Queensland, out west through the Darling Downs and beyond, you re-well clear of this system. Expect typical summer weather. Warm, mostly dry, isolated afternoon storms possible in the far west. Victoria, you are the lucky state tomorrow. This low pressure system is staying well to your north. You are under a ridge of high pressure, which means settled conditions. Melbourne is looking at a beauty of a day. Morning clouds should clear to mostly sunny skies. Light winds, possibly a sea breeze developing in the afternoon. Temperatures starting around 16 degrees overnight, warming to a very pleasant 28 degrees by mid-afternoon. It's an ideal day to get outdoors. Head to the beach, go for a bike ride along the Yarra, have a picnic in the Botanic Gardens. If you stay inside tomorrow, you are wasting a perfect summer day. The rest of Victoria is looking similar. Geelong, Ballarat, Bendigo, all seeing mostly sunny skies and pleasant temperatures. The only exception might be far east Gippsland, which could see some cloud and a stray shower as moisture from the New South Wales system brushes the border areas. South Australia, you are looking at hot conditions. Very hot in Adelaide and the surrounding areas. The synoptic setup has a heat trough positioned over the state, drawing hot air from the interior. At the same time, you under a ridge of high pressure, so there's no mechanism for bringing in cooler air or generating cloud cover. Adelaide is forecast to hit 37 degrees tomorrow. Some suburbs could touch 38 or even 39, particularly the northern and western suburbs. The CBD might be a degree or two cooler thanks to the sea breeze, but not much. That's hot enough to be dangerous if you're not careful. The UV index is going to be extreme. If you are out in the sun between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. without protection, you'll get sunburnt in 15 minutes or less. Drink plenty of water. Stay in the shade or indoors during the hottest part of the day. Check on elderly neighbours and mates who might not have air conditioning. Make sure your pets have access to shade and fresh water. The fire danger is also a concern. With temperatures this high, humidity very low, and a bit of wind forecast from the north, the conditions are conducive to fire spread. The Adelaide Hills are under a high fire danger rating. No open fires, no barbecues in the bush. Be extremely careful with anything that could cause a spark. If you live in a bushfire-prone area, make sure you know your bushfire plan. Know your trigger points for leaving. On high fire danger days, have your car packed and ready to go if the situation changes. The good news is that a cool change is coming Monday. A front will move through during Monday morning, dropping temperatures back to the mid-20s. So this heat is short-lived. Just one day of extreme heat, then relief. The rest of South Australia is looking at similar conditions. Port Augusta, Port Pirie, the Riverland, all seeing very hot conditions. The Eyre Peninsula and the southeast might be a few degrees cooler thanks to the maritime influence, but still hot by any measure. Western Australia, you continue your run of excellent weather. Perth is looking at another beautiful summer day. Clear skies, light winds, maximum temperature around 25 degrees. It's perfect beach weather. Cottesloe, Scarborough, City Beach, all looking ideal. The water temperature is warm, the surf is clean, the conditions are as good as you could ask for. If you are planning to head down to Margaret River or up to the Wheat Belt, you will find similar conditions. Sunshine, mild temperatures, no rain in sight. The far north, the Pilbara and Kimberley, you are in the monsoon season, so you might see some afternoon storms. But even there, it's typical for this time of year, nothing unusual. Tasmania, you are looking at cool but pleasant conditions. Hobart should reach about 20 degrees tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud, light winds. Very pleasant for a summer day in Tassie, even if it's not beach weather by mainland standards. The northwest coast and the east coast are looking at similar conditions. Launceston might hit 22 degrees. The Central Highlands will be cooler, as always, but still pleasant enough. The only weather of note in Tasmania is the possibility of a shower or two in the far northwest late in the day as a weak trough approaches from the west. But even that's just a chance, not a certainty. The Northern Territory is doing what it does in January. Darwin is looking at 34 to 35 degrees with high humidity. Afternoon storms are likely, but they are hit and miss. You might get drenched or you might stay dry. That's wet season weather in the top end. Katherine and the inland areas are similar. Hot, humid, storms possible. Alice Springs and Central Australia are hot and dry, 38 to 40 degrees. Clear skies, typical summer in the red centre. Canberra is on the southern edge of this low pressure system. You will see some cloud and a few showers, mainly during the morning. The afternoon should improve somewhat. Temperatures around 24 degrees. Not as wet as Sydney, but not particularly pleasant either. All right, that's the forecast broken down by region. Now let us talk about what you need to do about it. If you are in Sydney or anywhere on the New South Wales coast, your priority tomorrow is staying safe in wet conditions. Don T, take unnecessary risks. If you are driving, slow down. Wet roads are slippery and visibility will be reduced in heavy rain. Turn your headlights on. Keep a safe distance from the car in front. Avoid driving through puddles if you can to see the bottom. What looks like a shallow puddle might be a deep pothole or a washed out section of road. If you're on foot, watch where you are walking. Wet footpaths are slippery. Avoid walking under large trees in strong winds. Branches can come down without warning. If you have outdoor plans, seriously consider rescheduling. I know it's frustrating when you've been looking forward to something, but this is not the day to be at the beach or in the park. The conditions are miserable and there are genuine safety concerns with the wind and the rough surf. If you are at home, it's a good day to check your property. Make sure your gutters are clear so water can drain properly. Bring in any outdoor furniture or items that could blow around in the wind. Check that your windows are secure. For those in Brisbane and southeast Queensland, you have more flexibility. The weather is going to be showery and humid, but it's not the constant heavy rain that Sydney is getting. You can still go about your day, but have a backup plan. If you are planning to be outdoors, have an indoor alternative ready in case the weather turns. If you're heading to the beach, be very careful in the water. The surf is big and conditions are challenging. Listen to the lifeguards. Swim between the flags. If in doubt, Don T, go in. Adelaide, your challenge is the heat. Preparation is key. If you need to be outside during the hottest part of the day, dress appropriately. Loose-fitting, light-coloured clothing, broad-brimmed hat, sunglasses, sunscreen on all exposed skin, and reapply every 2 hours. Drink water before you feel thirsty. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. If you're working outside or exercising, you need to be drinking regularly throughout the day. Avoid strenuous activity during the middle of the day. If you are going for a run or playing sport, do it early in the morning or late in the evening when it's cooler. Check your air conditioning is working. If you don't have air conditioning, know where your local cooling centres are. Libraries, shopping centres, cinemas, anywhere with air conditioning where you can spend a few hours during the heat of the day. For those in fire-prone areas, be vigilant. With high fire danger conditions, fires can start quickly and spread rapidly. If you see smoke or fire, call 000 immediately. Don T assumes someone else has already called it in. Melbourne and Perth, you've got great weather. Make the most of it. Get outside, enjoy the sunshine, do whatever you've been putting off because the weather wasn't cooperating. These are the days you remember when winter comes around. Right? Let us have a quick look at what coming up beyond Sunday, because this low pressure system doesn't just disappear overnight. Monday, January 19th, the low starts to move away from the coast. Sydney, the rain should ease during Monday afternoon. You'll still see some showers, but the persistent heavy rain will be over. Temperatures recover slightly to the low 20s. Brisbane continues to see scattered showers through Monday, but again, nothing as persistent as what Sydney is getting on Sunday. Melbourne warms up on Monday. We're re-looking at 30 degrees or possibly a bit higher. That's the start of a warm spell that could last through much of next week. Adelaide, the cool change arrives Monday morning. A weak front moves through, dropping temperatures back to 25 or 26 degrees. Much more pleasant. The change might bring a few showers to the Adelaide Hills, but most areas will stay dry. By Tuesday, the low pressure system is well out to sea. The weather across the eastern states improves significantly. Sydney should see sunshine returning. Brisbane clears up. Everyone gets back to more typical January conditions. The extended forecast for the rest of next week shows a high pressure system building over southeastern Australia. That means settled weather for most areas. Melbourne could see temperatures in the low to mid 30s through the middle of the week. Adelaide similar. Sydney back to the mid 20s with sunshine. The only exception is far northern Queensland and the Northern Territory, where the monsoon pattern continues. Daily afternoon storms, hot and humid conditions. Standard wet season fare. So if you have plans for later next week, the weather is looking much better across most of the country. Before we finish up, a few general reminders that apply regardless of where you are. Check the Bureau of Meteorology website or app regularly for updates. Weather forecasts can change as new data comes in. What I'm telling you now is based on the latest information available, but if the models shift or the low behaves differently than expected, the Bureau will update their warnings accordingly. If you in an area affected by severe weather, have your emergency kit ready. Torch with spare batteries, battery-powered radio, first aid kit, essential medications, important documents in a waterproof container. You probably already have most of this stuff. Just make sure you know where it is and that it's all still functional. If you lose power during storms, don't open your fridge or freezer unless absolutely necessary. They'll stay cold for several hours if you keep the doors closed. If the power is going to be out for an extended period, use the food in your fridge first, then your freezer. Stay informed through official sources, the Bureau of Meteorology, your state emergency service, your local council. Social media can be useful for real-time updates from people in your area, but verify important information through official channels. And finally, look after each other. Check in on your neighbours, especially if they're elderly or living alone. Offer to help if they need anything. That's what we do in this country. We look out for our mates. All right, that's the detailed breakdown for Sunday, January 18th, 2026. To summarise the key points. Eastern New South Wales, particularly Sydney and surrounding areas, heavy rain, strong winds, cool temperatures. Stay safe, avoid unnecessary travel, be prepared for wet conditions all day. Southeast Queensland, scattered showers and storms, humid conditions, big surf. Have a backup plan, swim safely if you go to the beach. Victoria, beautiful weather, mostly sunny, pleasant temperatures. Get outside and enjoy it. South Australia, very hot conditions in Adelaide and surrounding areas. 37 degrees or higher. Stay hydrated, avoid the heat of the day, be fire aware. Western Australia, another perfect day. Clear skies, 25 degrees, beach weather. Tasmania, cool but pleasant, mix of sun and cloud, around 20 degrees. Northern Territory, typical wet season, hot, humid, afternoon storms likely. The situation improves from Monday onwards as the low moves away and high pressure builds back in. That's all from me. Stay safe out there, particularly those of you on the New South Wales coast dealing with the worst of this system. This too shall pass. By Tuesday, you'll be wondering what all the fuss was about. Look after yourselves and look after each other. Check back for updates if conditions change. And remember, when the Bureau issues warnings, take them seriously. They don't